welcome to the River Thames. And I'm back again this year for another Riverfest Qualifier on my home stretch in Abingdon. I'm on Culham Reach today. I've drawn peg 4. I'm reasonably happy with the peg. I've got a load of minnows in front of me. I wonder if that's a good sign that there's full of fish, but I'm reasonably happy with the peg, and the reason is the weights have been quite hard. 5 to 10 pounds a good weight, but this end of the section has thrown up some weights. The water's deep, there's been a few perch caught deep, so I think that could be a big thing for today. I'm just going to go through the rigs. This is a 3-metre whip. I've set it a couple of foot deep, and that's a 0.4 DH20 float on that one. And I've got a slightly longer version, it's a 4-metre whip, and that's a 0.5 DH20. I don't know if it's going to be a bleak match, but it might be. I need to catch a few bleak through the day, so always best prepared. And then what we got rig wise, this is the first rig. This is on a top 4. I'm actually fish it top 5. This is my Perch short rig. I'm starting it on white hydro. I think there's a chance for Perch, also a chance for Bream. So I'm going to start on this. It's a 2 gram Carper Gloucester float. It's an 013 rig, going down to a bit of an ugly bulk, down to a 011 size 18 Caranu, 16 Caranu. I'm going to start on a bigger hook today, so I'm going to fish worm from the off on that rig. And I've got 2 rigs for fishing 13 metres. This is on a pink hydro. This is a Carper Gloucester 2 gram. I've also got one on a blue hydro, exactly the same, down to a bulk with just 2 droppers 6 inches apart, and that's a size 18 Caranu one there. It's a size 18 on the blue one. I've got a pink and a blue just in case there's a bigger stamp of fish and I choose the blue, so that's going to be there. And then slightly different today, don't see me fishing this very often, I've got a 5 gram flat float. I've decided I'm not going to fish a feeder in this peg. If I've gone to sit out for a bite, I'm going to sit out on one of these. This is a Caruso 5 gram flat float. That goes down to a 12-inch hook length, so 12 inches on the bottom, and that's a size 14 pole special hook. In terms of how am I going to start the match, which is in 10 minutes time, I'm going to put some bait on a bait dropper on the short line first. Then I'm going to put 10 balls at 13 metres, and I'm going to start on this short line. If I'm going to win today, I think the short line is going to be the key, and maybe I pick up a bigger fish on the long line, but I'm going to try for this short line as the banker rig. Side tray, pretty familiar now. I've got some quite big fluoro pinkies. I've got some red maggot that are toned to casters. I've got some hemp, I've got some dead maggot, I've got some casters. I've got some pellets in there, but I'm not going to use them. I've decided to not fish the feeder. And I've got a load of worm for chopping, and I'll chop some of that up in a minute with these chop worm scissors. The ground bait mix for the day, as usual, is 1 bag of Gross Gardon Roach from Census, 1 bag of Census River Dark, and 1 bag of Census River Light. So as I thought, it's made up 12 balls, and I'll get them ready to throw and cup. We start in 6 minutes. I just changed my mind. I'm actually going to put the ground bait in first, and then I'm going to bait dropper, and then fish straight over the bait dropper. I think I don't want to leave it any time at all. I think so. I think bait dropper and then fish it straight over the top. That's what I've just decided. So fingers crossed. I qualified last year for the Riverfest final from this match. It wasn't off this section of river, it was off the next section called the Upper Moors, and I had a great 2 days up at the River Trent. It was great fun. Met a lot of really nice people and had a great time. It wasn't such a great 2 days of match, but it was a really good event, so I'd really like to qualify for it again. And you know, I've got home field advantage, and let's see if I can put it to some use. I think a lot of people might fish a feeder today. There's always discussions that we catch bream on our sections of river, which we do, but it's very bright, there's not a lot of flow, and there's going to be a lot of boat traffic today, so I just think it might put the bream off. And maybe the key to winning today is some chopworm and caster. Better get going now. Right. So we're just going to spend the first 5 minutes putting bait in. I can hear a lot of balls of ground bait going into my left already, getting thrown in. I'm going to keep it a little bit tight today. I'm going to chuck the last 2 balls. I've got that flat float that I want to fish if I think I've got to set out for a bream, and I want the area of bait to be quite tight, if that's the case. It's a bit funny now I'm saying that I think if I'm going to do well it'll be short, and I'm spending all this time putting out a bait long. The primary reason for that is if there is some bream in the area, I want to come into my peg and I want them to stay even when I'm not there, you know. So I'm putting in a load of bait, a load of particles, so if there's a need, they're there when I want them. And the other thing is, I'd rather put more bait in and go for it than not put enough in and have the fish drift out my peg or something like that. So that's why I'm not seeing quite a lot. Right, and then we will just throw these last 2. Okay, now I'm going to chop some chopworm. So I always want to do last minute, and then we'll put that out and then start fishing. You might think it would have been better to just fish it top 4 to hand, but it just slopes off a little bit, and I would rather fish just off that slope. have a habit of just clicking that bit a little bit too far down. So let's go. Start with the smallest piece of worm. See how I get on. A little indication. Now there are some crayfish in this part of the river. If there are in all parts of the River Thames, but let's hope that was a fish and not a crayfish. Okay, that's given it 15 minutes. It's not produced me any fish, so I'm going to come off that rig. I'm going to have a look on the long line and come back to that in half an hour or so, depending on what happens. I'm going to start on the pink hydro, a roach rig. I'm going to start with double maggot and see what I can catch. The answer is a bleak on the drop. It's quite ungainly, but nice roach. I was just wondering, is it going to be a bleak match? Do I need to get the whips out straight away? But that's given me a little bit more confidence. I think I might shorten that rig just a little bit. It's going to help me when I swing it in. Choplet. Try a couple of furrowed pinkies. So where are we? Half an hour's gone, and not a fantastic start. I've caught no fish on my short line. I actually caught a crayfish. I had a couple of bites. I don't know if it was one crayfish or more, but then I've gone out long and I've had a roach and a chublet, and I just had to make a couple of adjustments to the rig. I just shortened it up. It was a bit long, and I've also just added a couple of numbers, 10 and number 11, just to dot the rig down a little bit more. So we're off and catching anyway. Let's see. There was loads of roach. I wouldn't expect to get a gudgeon, but let's see what the river throws up. So let's grab that on the way. Little chublet. There are some really big chub in this section. We catch them regularly in the winter, £5 plus, you know, so hopefully a big one might show up on my pink hydro. Just trundling along the bottom there. If I let it go a little bit further about where that boat is now, it shallows up. Just let it run a little bit forward further. This is what I mean about lots of boat traffic today. I think fishing a feeder would have been wrong. I say I think it'll be wrong, I'll find out in 5 hours. Just have a little bit, have a look slightly upstream from where the bait was. And then just let it run down onto the bank. Species hunt today with a steady rough. Doesn't give me a lot of confidence, sadly. Normally get bites off of those when there's nothing else in the peg. Gonna give it this run. If I don't catch a better quality fish, I'm gonna look on the whip for bleak. See if there's any there. There can be quite good bleak weights off these pegs, but it's not my area of expertise, although I think that maybe today I might have to just find my way through it, you know. Bleak was down into the peg, so let's quickly have a look on the whip. a mixed bag size of bleak to be had. If you can catch them that size, they're definitely worth catching. Right, so just an hour in and I'm just fishing on the whip, catching some bleak. Just trying to vary the depth a little bit, see if I can find where they're sitting. I've gone a bit deeper just a second. So I've had, on the long line, I've had a roach, gudgeon, daddy rough and a bleak, and that was enough for me to get off. On the short line I had a crayfish, so I came off, and then I thought maybe I'd have a look for bleak, and there's sort of the average sort of stamp of bleak. There's some bigger, some smaller, and maybe if it's going to be a hard day, then this could be the way to do okay. So I'm just going to persevere with this a little bit, see if I can find the right depth, catch more consistently, and keep trying the long line, I think, and have a quick look, you know. Going to get messy. I've just switched to the 4-metre whip, but I'm fishing in the same place so I can fish it a bit deeper. Alright, so we're just coming up to the 2-hour mark. I'm still fishing for bleak. I've gone back out on the long pole a couple of times and came back with like a bleak or a gudgeon, so I've decided to stay fishing for bleak. They've moved further out. I've switched to the 4-metre, the 4-metre whip, and I'm getting a few fish again. I'm just going to give it another couple of minutes, and I'm going to put a worm bomb, I think, on that pole line. Then go over it with a worm and see if it's anything to catch. But for the moment, I think it's just a case of put fish in the net and keep going. Right, so 20 minutes to go. I'm just going to stay on this bleak line now. I'm catching the odd fish, not many, but enough to just keep me, interested and keep doing it. Certainly had a busy day, I know that, and I think, well, I hope I made the right choice. I don't know, we'll see. I suspect I'm not the only angler that's decided to fish for bleak after a slow start on the pole, long pole and stuff, so fingers crossed I can just keep a few more fish coming before the end of the match. The wind dies down, I'm able to strike to the left, which I think is a lot more effective, but it says he misses 2 bites. The last 10 minutes or whatever, the stamper fish is tiny. I know, 15 minutes to go. Just a little summary of the day, I think. So I'm still catching a few bleak. I've decided that I didn't think the bream were going to feed today. I was going to do everything on the pole. So I set up to fish one short line at my top 6, one long line, 13 metres, and then a 3 metre and a 4 metre whip. I've gone out and balled it to start on the long line. I've put in 12 balls, which had 250ml of hemp caster and dead maggot in them, 250 of each, that is. So a lot of bait, and I thought what I could do is feed that line, come in short, feed off of a bait dropper and see if I can catch some perch short, because it's really deep. It's the same sort of depth at my top 6 as it is at 13 metres. So that's what I've done, and then I've gone out. I've not caught anything short apart from a couple of crayfish, and then I've gone long. I've caught one roach, and then a bleak, a gudgeon and a daddy rough, and then decided to come in. If I was going to catch bleak, I might try and catch him on the whip, and that's what I've done for the last 5 hours really. I'm no bleak angler, but I think this is the only way I'm going to try and qualify today, so I've got to give it a go. Just been feeding some pinky, I fed a little bit of hemp, and I fed some sloppy ground bait as well, just to try and keep bites coming along. And I've had spells where I've caught a few, and I've had spells where I've struggled a bit, but I've kept looking on the long pole. I fed it again at one point. I put a worm ball in, which was a load of chopped worm in some ground bait, and I've had 2 perch off of that, but then nothing. So I've carried on with this technique, and then just thought this was probably the best thing to do. Kept looking over on that long pole line, I kept looking on the short pole line, but there seems to be nothing in this really deep water currently, just these bleak up in the water. So I've got another 15 minutes of catching these, which hopefully is going to be another couple of ounces. I smell that. We'll now see what happens when I weigh in. They're going to weigh up down the other end first, and then come down to me, and then there's 6 to my right. If I can beat everyone to my left, then I think I've got a good chance. But some of the fish I caught were very small, but I was catching, so I felt like that was the right thing to do. So I'll get packed up, see what the scalesman says.